Hi YouTube and welcome to my channel. I thought I'd show you guys how to make my Aunt Anna's Easter bread. I make it every year for my Easter party and it's a huge hit. This video is going to show you guys how the dough should look at every single step. I know it's going to be a little tedious to watch, but sometimes bread recipes are a little too vague for me. So here we have 2 eggs and they're lightly beaten with 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. This is 1 cup of milk that's been scalded and it's just cooling in a cup. You scald milk by just bringing it up to until it's foaming and steaming, but not quite boiling. I'm not really sure why we do that. I'll look that up. This is 3 cups of flour. It's loosely packed in the cup. Don't go too heavy on the flour because we're going to add more as we go. 1/2 cup of sugar, like 1 little shake of ground cloves, and a teaspoon of salt. And the way I can tell that my water's hot enough for my yeast to go into is that I can put my finger in, it doesn't burn me, but it is just hot enough that it doesn't burn me. Just that level. You could measure the temperature. I think it wants to be at like 100 degrees, somewhere between 100 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. But usually I can just tell by putting my finger in it that it's hot but not boiling. And I sprinkle my yeast over it. I'm using Fleischmann's. I actually prefer Red Star. I don't know why. I just have better luck with it. Let's give it a little stir. Okay, I'm gonna mix in 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. And we're just gonna let that foam up and I'll show you what it looks like before I put it into the mixer. Okay, it's just been a few minutes and you can see that I started with 1/3 cup of water and now the foam and bubbles are they're actually almost at 3/4 cup. So my mixer's on stir and I've mixed all those dry ingredients. I'm gonna add my milk first. It helps to continue to cool it down a little bit. Let that mix in for a second. And we're going to add the eggs with the oil. Turn it up. And then I'm going to add my yeast and water. I'm going to start scraping down the edges just to make sure that all this stuff on the side is getting in. Okay, at this point we're going to start adding flour in. Like kind of a 1/2 cup at a time. Just always edge off of flour. That's the one thing I think that ruins bread a lot. It gets really dry and too hard to work with. And we're trying to get a nice kind of soft, squishy bread. Okay, I wanted you guys to see the dough at this point. This is only another maybe 3/4 cup of flour, maybe even 2/3. I like for my dough to be this sticky, and I let it knead for a while in the mixer. 5 minutes, 8 minutes, just kind of let it go. The gluten starts to develop and it actually pulls together more into a ball. And this allows me to finish it on a board with some flour. So I'm probably going to leave it at this stage, add my raisins, let this knead a bit, about 5 minutes, and then I'll put it on a board and show you how to finish it off. Here, I'm going to pull it up so you can kind of see. You see? It's pretty wet. Let's let it pull up like this. But it will continue to develop. And on the board I can add more flour until it sort of feels right to me. But I'm going to let this go. Okay, I added 1/3 cup of golden raisins and let it go about 5 minutes. And you can see that it's still pulling, it's sticking to the edge of the bowl. That's how I want it. I don't want it to be a ball in there rolling around because I'm going to add a little bit more flour when I hand knead it. Just get it onto a floured surface. This is just my cutting board. You're gonna hear the baby. He's behind me in the kitchen.
just crawling around. Okay. Your fingers will stick. Get some flour on your hands, on the dough. And then you're gonna start kneading by hand. And you don't really need to knead much more. You just push, turn, push, turn, push, turn. If you have problems with your cutting board sliding around, like mine is obviously right now, you can put a damp kitchen towel underneath it. It helps when you're making like pasta or something like that, where you really are using a lot of force. But I did not do that. Okay, that's it. This is what you're looking for. It's squishy, it's soft, but it does hold together. I hope you can kind of tell what that seems like, but you're not trying to add too much flour to this. You know, gluten continues to develop as it rises and sits and bakes. So you're trying to keep things, you know, as sort of wet as possible without being a gloopy mess. That's it. I'm gonna put this into an oiled bowl to rise. It's nice if you have a clear bowl of some sort, because then you can see when it's doubled, or you can just kind of eyeball it or mark it with tape or something like that. But we're gonna let it rise for an hour until it's doubled. I thought I'd just show you the bowl that I use. It's actually the base of my salad spinner. It's just a plastic bowl. And that way you can see it has a flat bottom, so I can really tell once it's doubled, it should be about there. This will take about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. Make sure that you turn your dough over once you put it in, just to get the oil on the top of it as well, so it doesn't form a skin. And then I've just covered it with plastic wrap. Okay, it's been an hour, and you can see that the dough is definitely doubled. It's puffed up inside as well. I'm gonna just pull this back, punch it down, get the air out. I'm just kind of kneading it a little bit. Then I'm gonna flip it over. And I'm gonna let it rise again. So this has been rising for about another hour, and it is definitely doubled. So now I'm gonna show you how to shape the loaf. Okay, so I have my lightly floured surface and a sharp knife. I'm just gonna push the dough down, flop it on the board, and I'm gonna eyeball thirds. You could definitely measure if you wanted to, you know, on a kitchen scale, but I never do. Like 1, 2, 3. And then what we're gonna do is form these into just long ropes. The dough is really relaxed and pliable, so it's not difficult to roll it. It can be smaller on the ends as well. So that's a rope. It's probably about 20 inches long. Let's do the other. See, it's really elastic and pliable. Okay. Okay, so I have 3 ropes, and I'm gonna braid them together. Just pinch the ends there, just like that. Bring one over. It's okay if your ends kind of taper out, because we're gonna fold that under. It's better to keep the braid kind of tight and fat in the middle. Going over. Sorry, you can't see this very well. I don't have a good angle on this. That. Keep going. Pinch them together at the end. That. It's braided. And then I flip these under. That. That. And I'm gonna put this on a cookie sheet to rise again, covered. You can pick it up and, you know, just kind of toss it over. It's not a big deal if it gets a little messed up. So here it is. Tuck the ends under. It's on a cookie sheet. This is a sheet pan, but you can use a cookie sheet. Then I'm going to loosely cover it with the saran wrap. Doesn't need to be super tight. And it's going to rise another 45 minutes. About 20 minutes in, just preheat your oven to 325. Okay, so our bread is ready. I did a dumb thing and used my last egg in the bread. So to do an egg wash on top, I mixed up some meringue powder with water that I just happened to have for baking. So hopefully this works. Online it says that you can use meringue powder as an egg wash. It might be a slightly different color than my photo that I'll post with this and on the blog, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so this just came out of the oven and you can hear it. It sounds hollow when you tap on it. Normally this actually would be darker, but the egg wash didn't work as well as a real egg. So you'll see in pictures, I'll post some pictures with it, that it's much glossier and a little darker around here, but that is kind of what you want to see in the middle. You want to hear that sound. This ended up going about 43 minutes. Okay guys, I've cut into it. Look at how squishy. Oh, it's so good. It's soft, it's squishy. And it's got raisins, you know, going throughout. This is such a good bread with butter.
Thanks for watching me make Aunt Anna's Easter bread. I hope this inspires you guys to make some.